Welcome everybody. ZiggyNo back with another video, guys. Really appreciate River from Hedge today. Have his time. He's the creator and founder of Hedge, and he's going to walk us through the features and functionality of Hedge today. Just for my audience, I have signed up as an affiliate. I'm really excited about this. I will be promoting and using Hedge in the future. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask me, and I can obviously get those to River and the team. But today we're going to go over section by section, kind of learn about the layout and what's kind of going on. I will mention, River, I'm gonna let you kind of help navigate. I'm driving, but when I log
Yeah,
in, this is
absolutely.
what comes up first. I log into card prices. Can you tell me a little bit about why card prices? What is card prices, collection dashboard? What do you recommend navigation for a new user here?
Yeah, absolutely. So the card prices, card search page is the key or main jumping off point if you're looking for cards or searching through cards or just want to get some information about what's going on in the market. So when you first come into here, what you see in the bottom section is actually the list of all the cards in the system, and they're sorted by the most liquid. So you'll see like over on the right hand side, I say most liquid, but most sold basically. And
Okay.
this is like more of a barometer. These are obviously the number of sales based on what we've captured in the system and also matched. So
So those
there's,
numbers are here, right here, right? 128.
absolutely, yeah.
And so
Yeah.
volume is important, and this is showing me in ranking order, top volume. It looks like you're trending that based on 7-day and 30-day. Okay, that's very cool.
Yeah, and you can change the sort obviously at the top in this sort section, so you can go 30-day if you want. They're usually correlated obviously in some way, but you when you start to see things like spike, like Purdy yesterday really had a ton of sales last night, obviously after the game,
Mhm.
you're going to see, those 7-day numbers spike quicker than the 30. But yeah,
Now this is
it tries to get, what we're trying to do here is really just give you that okay, what are the cards you might be interested in if you're not really searching for something really specific, right? Like
yeah.
what's the top 100 or 50 that you're
Yeah.
interested in maybe taking a look at?
So it's funny for me, my hat, if I'm a dealer, I'm coming in this to see what's going liquid so that I might want to take this to a show. If I'm a
Yep.
collector, I might look at this and go, well, these cards I'm going to ignore right now because they're probably getting top dollar and I'll wait until they come down. I might put a tracker on it. And I'll give you an
Yeah, it's
example. Julio
interesting. Yeah.
Rodriguez, right, is one I've been following. I've pulled some of these cards. I like the card. And I'm thinking to myself, I personally think he's going to come down after a while. This has got to dip as more of this gets pulled. So I would probably put this in my wait list as a collector. If I wanted to sell, though, right, if I'm watching this, I'm thinking, man, I need to get these graded now because right now it's at $60. And if my grading fees are roughly 20, my margins decreasing right now. That's just my mindset right now looking at this.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think like you, like everybody's going to take their own view on certain aspects of, you know, certain cards, whether they're sometimes more volume means great things are happening. Sometimes more volume means bad things are happening, right? In some respects too. So like when people get hurt, you also see this large spike in volume. Obviously, we see a lot more with guys that get really hot, and then you see this like super spike in volume. So
I really like this ability, guys. I was pointing to the audience. I just went over here to Pokemon. I'm not a Poke dude, but you can kind of see that. You also have a lot of other things you guys are tracking here. Can you just take a minute, River, on that? You're not just a
yeah,
card search engine. I mean, you're tracking. Are these all cards, Marvel? Are these comics? Okay,
these are
they're all
all
cards.
cards right now. Yeah, it's all
Okay,
cards, and we have a grouping sort of hierarchy, if you will. We have Marvel, obviously. We have Pokemon. We have a bunch of other and like maybe less prevalent than some of the top sports or some of the top things like Pokemon, but we're gonna have a lot of the other sections or groups of cards, trading cards, and sports, but might not be as prevalent. So we sort of sort of push that back a bit. So yeah, so like certain sections aren't built out as much. So if you,
okay.
as you can see, like if you're in Garbage Pail Kids, we really have just like the first couple series in the system at the moment. We're still adding some of that stuff.
Yeah.
So
Are you pulling? And again, just for the audience, I know you pull primarily from eBay and you pull from auction houses, right? So those are your
yep.
main sources of data, correct? So that's why this data is
That's
coming in.
correct. Yeah. I mean, as you can imagine, a large portion of the volume happens on eBay, but we do also do get a lot of pricing from other sources. Um, and that helps sort of fill out the higher end market or medium to higher end market where stuff is selling maybe on like PWCC or something like that.
Awesome. So a couple other things. So as I'm looking at the layout here, I can see, price uploads. I can see number of cards in the last few days. I do a lot of sorting functionality here. Quick search. Let me ask you without trying to go totally off history. What is the history search versus this card price that I'm looking at now? Because it
Yeah,
has a card
that's a
search.
great question. Yeah, so price history search. So since the beginning of when we started Card Hedge back in 2020, we started just storing all the prices that we acquired. So even if we don't have the card in the system, we will store all the auctions or all the OBOs or whatever it is, right? Everything that gets sold that we capture, and that doesn't necessarily mean everything, obviously, but a large portion of what gets sold we capture, and that's what this is. It's basically that list of all of the data that's been sold over the last 2 years, I guess 3 now almost. And you can search through here and you'll be able to get an idea of things. Even if we don't have the card set up, you can see it. The card is set up and and the price has been linked, then you can see where that's happened. So if you go back to like unfilter it, go to the very top value, the blank one, yeah. Then you can see like the second card down, that card came in, it's an auction. And also we've linked that to a card in the system. If you click that, you can then go to the card that we've linked it to in the system.
Very cool.
And this, yeah, so you can start to see like, okay, you can search for data you can search for prices that aren't completely like linked to a card in the platform because we just haven't set it up for whatever reason yet. We don't obviously have every card. But you can see those prices. So if you did need to research a card that isn't in the system, you can do that here, and you're going to get more than just eBay prices, right? You're going to get prices from our other sources as well. So that's kind of handy. And then the key part about having the price history, whether we search it or not, is that, as we add cards to the platform, we're always capturing those prices regardless if the card is in the system. So once we do set up the card, we traverse all the history and do all the matching so that card has price history, not just prices going forward in the future. So
how quickly do you update? Like I'm wondering, when I see these guys with the PWCC and the golden auction, how quickly is that updated? It looks like it's pretty quickly. These is from the 14th, right? So these are
so PWCC has 3 different auctions, or the 3 different that we capture. So you have your fixed stuff that happens every single day. So we capture those on a daily basis. You have your weeklies, and then there's like the special auction, and those are more. So we check those like once a week, and so like the larger stuff that happens, I think on Sunday nights, or Saturday nights, those get captured like on a Monday right after, and then there's another one I think on a Wednesday, but those are more sporadic. But we just check every Wednesday in any case. So
this is taking me out. Wow, that's pretty cool. I love that.
Yeah, so most of these will have links to the actual auction. In some cases we don't. Obviously eBay deprecates those links after like 3 months, so it'll still send you the link, but it may not be active.
So as I'm trying to put this in my mind, if I'm using the product, I'm probably using card prices for everyday stuff like we talked about earlier, kind of use case examples of checking current price. History is where I really want to do some research. Maybe I'm getting ready to buy a bigger card or looking to sell a bigger card, or maybe I'm looking to grade an old vintage. I might look at this for more historical information. In fact, I'm thinking grading vintage might be a great use case for this, right? I find a card that I want to grade that's vintage. I go to card history, look to see what it's sold at in different auction houses, what the different grades were. Was it an SGC? Was it in PSA? So it gives me a lot of historical data. How, so you guys are collecting this. Is eBay historical data in here? This isn't Terapeak data, right? It's just auction house historical data. Is that fair, or am I wrong?
It's eBay historical data.
Okay.
It's not Terapeak in the same sense. So we acquire this data through other means, but we do have eBay data. We have best offer data. Just because of the way that we get data, we don't have the actual best offer prices in most cases. So we usually do research if we need to add those prices to get them manually linked. But we don't link any best offers currently. Obviously, because we don't have those prices, and we don't get the Terapeak data directly. So
A quick question I have in my mind, this historical data, how hard would it be for you to scrape information off the historical sales to create a database, like say how many gold prism cards have sold, how many RPAs have sold, and who they were, and what serial numbers they had? You know, we talked about, I was want to track hits and stuff. Could your historical search be used for that?
Yeah, I mean, you could do that manually here. I mean, we have all the data, or a good portion of the data, let's say. But you still have to sort of eyeball it, right? Like, this is sort of the difference between linking to a specific card where we're very
Uh-huh.
specific about how it attaches to a card versus, you know, um, versus like just getting a bunch of data back for a given search and then having to sort of traverse that list. Now, there are probably analytics that you could bubble up around like certain parallels and so forth, even if it's across sets, which might be interesting. We don't currently do anything like that, but we have the data. There's definitely some additional insights, and I think as we grow as an organization, we'll definitely be bubbling up additional types of information, or maybe even providing functionality for users to create their own sort of aggregations and so forth. Yeah.
Awesome. I just did the gold search and that worked pretty well. So I mean that gives me ability to, from there I guess I could filter further. Let's go ahead and
Yeah.
let's bounce around a little bit just for time. I don't want to keep the audience engaged here. If I started dashboards, what is dashboards?
Yep.
And is that where I'd want to start my day? And tell me a little bit about dashboards. Looks like it's a collection dashboard. Am I right? Or
Yeah, so your dashboard is your collection dashboard. This is going to give you all your data for your collection. So as you go through and add cards to your
okay.
collection, this updates in real time. So you're going to get a view of all of your data, performance over time. You're going to get, obviously some aggregate numbers, portfolio value, realized profit. You can mark things as sold. So that gives you actual, realized gains and losses. There's some other aggregate stuff here, so lifetime profit, portfolio size, and so forth. And then
Let me
if you scroll down a little bit, yeah, go ahead.
let me ask real quickly. So I use a DC Sports 87 for my consignment, and they have a nice little report in there. Could I by any chance pull that into your thing and see what I've sold and what I haven't? And what I've sold, and say, could I track that sold portfolio in here, or is it only for current portfolio? Does that make sense?
No, you absolutely could track your sold portfolio. I think if I understand you correctly, you would obviously need to update the appropriate information in our platform. So essentially, you add cards to your portfolio, you have a buy price and a sell price that would
Yep.
actually update in here just the same way that you would in some other platform where you have the purchase price and the sale price, and then you get like your realized profit for those.
Exactly. In
But
fact, I was thinking this because I'm starting the new year. I'm trying to get a way to manage this. So I could put all the cards into here, into my collection. Now, do you have to have the card in your database if it's in my collection too, or no?
currently, yes.
Okay.
So that is a limitation, and obviously we're trying to build out the library as fast as possible to make that more accessible to everybody. We do have what we consider somewhat novel feature, which allows you to submit card requests, and those card requests we actually follow up on and create in a reasonable amount of time. And so we do get a lot of card requests from customers. So if there is a card that doesn't exist in the system, we have a template that you can fill out when you're in the card search page,
Mm-hmm.
and that will allow you to submit that request. And then when that request gets filled, you'll get an automated message from our platform that it's been filled. And we try to get those done in around 48 hours. Obviously, as we scale larger, things are taking a little bit more time right now just because we have so many new customers, but
Sure.
we are pretty good about getting those completed. And we have a lot of customers that have large collections that submit, sections like that. We have tranches of cards, obviously, that we haven't added to the system yet. And a lot of those get filled by customer requests. And, we have a large set of customers that do requests on a regular basis that,
Let me
to
give
fill
you
out their
an
collections.
example of how I'm thinking of this, right? So I typically
Yep.
will rip what I call the standard products, the more mainstream, flagship, for example, Prism. So I have a bunch of update right now, and you guys have already got update in there. So it'd be nice as I'm ripping update, the ones that I'm going to sell. Here's what I do: I normally sort out what I'm going to sell, the rookies, the inserts, and then I want it in the dashboard. Then I decide: do I want to grade it, or do I want to sell it to DC, or do I want to sell it somewhere else? If it was in this dashboard, if I could load up a list of just the hits from a flagship product, have it in here, and then hit check. Yeah, I've got Rodriguez. I've got 5 Rodriguez's. right? Three of them I'm
Yep.
going to send to grading. Two I'm going to send over here to DC, and then I could track all that in this as well. That would be awesome. You see what I'm saying? Because then I could see, because
Yep.
I can use your product to look at what's the cost raw. And for the audience, the reason I'm thinking about this is I know one of the things I love about Card Hedge is seeing what's its raw price going for, and then what's its PSA price going for, what's its SGC price for, and then I can determine which one do I want to grade with? How do I want to grade? You know what I'm saying? So we'll talk more about that. But I'd love people to drop in, like I said, Optic is another one. Optic football. Drop in Optic football, rated rookies. And as they come in, I check here. I got 5 of these rated rookies. I got 3 halos or whatever they call them. And then I'm going to grade these. These ones I'm going to sell off and then put that profit and gain in here would be awesome. Love that.
Yep.
So let me ask you, collection, is that where I'd start? So dashboard's basically showing me collections where I'd start this, right? I'd put in that, I'd create the collection here. Either do I
Yeah. So
import?
collections started through going to card search and then adding those cards to your collection. But then all those cards that you add to your collection would then show up here, and you can manage them here. So this is where you would
Okay.
then mark them as sold, or
Ah,
do any maintenance or whatever. But when you add the card to your collection, it's going to say, okay, when did you purchase this? So you can backdate that. What was the purchase price, and so on and so forth. And then when you go to sell that card, there's another screen that allows you to enter the sale date and the sale price, essentially. So there you
so
go. Add to collection.
I'm going
You
to do a couple
enter.
of these as raw right now.
Yep.
And I don't have a price on there. I'm going to put $5 because I figure out some cost per rip or something like that. I hit save. Now that is there. Should I go over here to collection? I should
Yep.
see that show up. Now I can edit the amount here, correct? Or
Well,
would I?
this is gonna edit this. Like if you made a mistake, you can make that change
Okay.
here. If you go to the price tag button, it's over by the edit button, bottom right. Yep. And then you can mark it as sold here.
Okay.
So
If I want to have
you can
more
have
than
the
one of
sale
these,
price.
how would I add quantity? Do I add more of these or do I just
Yeah,
want to?
so currently you just add another one. We are
Okay.
working on a feature where you can add, when you add the card, you can say, oh, there's a quantity of 5 and here's the average price. We haven't
Okay.
completed that quite yet. So
So for me, what I'd like to see is that to have 5 there, because then I can hit view card. And for the audience here, what I'm doing now is I'm determining, do I want to keep it raw? Do I want to go grade it? How do I want to grade it? What's the trend on it?
yeah.
Right. So that's why to me that's awesome to have it in the collection there. Let me ask you a part on collection. Can I have more than one collection? Or can I tag collections as like say my kids collection and dad's collection in here?
Yeah, that's a great feature actually. There's a couple things we're in the process of adding. One is this sort of like labeling or grouping of collections into different sections. It would be more of a filter, so you can say, okay, here's, we have different sort of like boxes essentially, if you think about it, in comics or cards or whatever, and you can put them in different boxes. And that's going to happen on favorites and going to happen on collections. So you'll be able to, like, if you're looking for cards and you wanted to go to a show, right now we only have like one favorites group, but what we will be adding is a group to basically see like, oh, I want to buy these cards, and you can have a list of those cards. I want to sell these cards, and you can have a list of those cards. Or, I'm looking for these, Jaws, and you can put them all in a list and then just have that filter in here. And obviously we're coming out with a mobile app very shortly, and all those features should be available as well. So
Awesome. Because for me, I tell you what I think of and I think might help other collectors is there's dad and son or dad and daughter collections, right?
right.
And the kids want to see their value or see their collection or they want to play with theirs and they see that's all combined. It's like, oh, dad, my cards are worth $20,000. No, actually, yours are only worth, or maybe yours
Yeah.
are 20,000 and dad's are $5. But I just think it's a cool way to sort them. I have a couple sons and they want to see how their cards are doing. And that's always been the question they've had. Let's see. We talked a little
Absolutely.
about dashboard collection card price. I'm going to talk about NFT prices probably in the second video. Price feed. What is the price feed? So this is coming in from.
Yeah, it's a slightly different feature. So this is kind of like price history, but
Mhm.
for only things that we've linked. So as things get linked to a card that exists in the system, you can come in here and you can see those cards. So it's just a little bit different view on the price history itself. So in
Define
price
linked.
history,
Define linked again. I
yeah,
know you said this once before,
that's
but say it again for the audience and help me as well. Grab
Yeah,
that.
so linked basically means, so like there's this process of a card, right? So you have the structure of a card, which is, let's say in this case, we have this Billy Ripken
Mhm.
Fleer Air card. And we need to then associate prices to that card. And so in our system, we have a single structure, which is the card itself. And then we link auction prices or sale prices to that thing. And we do that through this algorithm that we have. And that also links to a given grade as well. So whether it's raw or prices. So that is a relatively complex process. When that process happens, which happens in real time whenever the prices come in, then it links to a given card and grade. And that essentially creates this sort of match and how we link the prices to the actual card. As you can imagine, if you go to eBay and you're looking through everything, like the auction names are weird and some things like might be like aren't associated easily between a card that you're looking for and the price. And we have a process that essentially does that in an automated way. And so once we do that validation, it happens automatically, then it shows up in this card.
That's amazing, the mapping. And here you're showing number sold. Is this number sold on that day, 2 separate transactions then, not one transaction, or do we no?
That's correct. So if you look at that, the way that we think about pricing for cards is we take the average price. So that's what you're always seeing in the graphs in this card history and everything. And so when you look at that small like histogram kind of looking thing, what you're seeing is the volume that we've linked. Now it's not necessarily everything. It just means those are the cards we linked on that day for that grade to this card. And so on January 5th, there were 2 cards that we used. We averaged those prices, and you can see the individual auctions inside of that by clicking on that, the little icon.
Yep.
And you can also, there's some interesting things. If you scroll up to the graph.
So it's cool there. One was 333, one was 425, and that's I love that. I don't think other companies do that. Give you the.
Yeah, a lot of people are using last price.
Yep.
But the thing is, like, cards are sort of fluid in the sense that, like, the last price doesn't necessarily, and of course, average isn't exactly perfect either. That's just kind of our view on it, which is if we're selling especially if you have a lot of auctions in a given day, one auction isn't necessarily the value. It might be, we kind of think of it, it's all of those auctions kind of make it sort of this blended price. Of course, everybody can take their own view on that. That's the view that we take. And we can understand, like, you might be thinking, okay, well, for Purdy, probably the last auction last night was the current price. That's a great view on it. That's not always the view. And I wouldn't necessarily take that stance on every card, but on certain cards it would be. The way that we do it is just do averaging.
It's funny. A friend of mine
there's one feature actually, if you scroll up, it's quite interesting that not a lot of people know, but if you click on that toggle that says clean, so like if you click that, you can go to inspect. Inspect allows you to essentially do the same thing. So you can now click on each one of those price points.
Up here or down here?
In the graph, you can actually click on those points. So click any of those on the actual dot.
Okay, I see it. There we go.
And that will show you the auction for that point.
I'm curious where at this point. Okay, hold on. There we go.
Yeah, that one is interesting. We might need to take a look. But you can see the point. Like, there's some interesting stuff here. So, like, there's 2 things on the graph toggles. One is inspecting the individual prices for a given day, and then also this actual toggle, which allows you to, yeah, go ahead.
This might not be the best example, but can you tell if one card's selling better at an auction house than the other, or in an auction house versus eBay? So then you have all the data there. This is probably not the best card to get.
Yeah, we're not really capturing that data, but it definitely is available. Like, I actually, you probably have observed things like this where certain auction houses, you might see higher prices.
Yeah.
Or, just because of trust and other type things like that, where, especially on higher end cards, like, are you more comfortable buying from an auction house that you're familiar with and on the other end you're going to have some guarantee, or is eBay okay, right? I don't know. It depends on your perspective.
So we got here starting in price feeds, right? And you were explaining the mapping. Okay, that's how we got here. Okay, that makes sense.
And so price feeds is just that historical view of all the cards that are getting linked in real time. And as cards get linked to or as prices get linked to a given card, we show them here, you have the price, and then you have like the card that got linked to and how it got linked. So it's auto feed. These are all automated. But sometimes we'll go in and manually link things that like may have not matched appropriately, just given because of the names of the auctions or whatever.
Very cool. Very cool. If anybody's watching and has some other examples, I'd love to hear more about the price feeds and how they're using it. So history, let's just check on time here. I think we're gonna, I want to get to the second part and cover out some other parts. Maybe we'll talk about player and compare in the second part. Well, talk about player real quickly. What is player? Just it's basically player search, right? If I want to look at Jordan.
This is player search, so you can get some information about like what's going on with that given player. We have some indexes around the players. We're still working and refining the player index stuff, but you know, we track total volume, we track average price across a player, and then we have some additional details if you click down around the index and stuff.
Yeah, I realized I'm in the wrong place. I'm sitting there. I'm curious because obviously he had, you know, a special night, and then we can see information about him tracking 42. Well, a lot selling. That's pretty cool. You can drill into here. There's kind of an index. It shows you the cards that he has available. I like this because if I wanted to buy him, I have no idea what he's even available. I know his
Prism cards you can come down here and then get a feel for like, okay, what are the popular cards for this particular player? It's just sort of a different view. You know, you could get to this information probably from card search easily. Like you can search for player and see the most volume cards. But you know, depends on your, you know, just the way you want to go about it. What we're trying to provide is a bunch of tools that allow you to do the research that you want to do in your way, right? And as we refine some of those tools, they get more useful. Obviously, we get feedback from customers and so on and so forth.
A couple of quick comments, and then we're going to stop this video, guys, for the audience. You see my timer's up. We're going to come back for part 2. I want to make a comment. What I like about this is, like I said, I can see a hot player. I can look in here and I can see also what volume is. So if I was interested in these cards, the Mosaic would probably be one that I'd be more interested in than his draft. I don't like the draft cards. Also, I love the fact, I don't see it in here right now, but you guys have the partnership with GemRate, right? Where you're doing pop information, correct?
Yeah. If you go to card prices, you'll see the cards we have GemRate pop data for, and we capture pop data for everything they have available for that card. We're still in the process. We're just doing some updates now, but like if you look at the Trevor Lawrence, you can see all the cards we have pop data for with that logo. We have the GemRate logo on it. And then if you click into like Trevor Lawrence, you can see where that pop data is available. And we actually have it for every single grader, not a single, like not just PSA or not just BGS. We have it for SGC and CSG as well. So.
Okay, well, we're going to go ahead and pause here, guys. Hope you enjoyed this first session going through the Card Hedge product. Join us for part 2. We're going to talk about some of their functionality and features. Definitely want to talk a little about NFTs and kind of what else is coming in the product down the road. So thank you very much.